We got the developer notes already. They've made them go live instantly. So here we go. If you missed the stream, guys, it's the Dark PTS developer notes. So hello, agent. So this went live. We just did the co-stream, and I give you my vague catch up. Here's the proper one. Here's the notes. Shall I remove everything so you can see the full screen? There we go. I'll even make it full screen. So hello, agents. Second season of Year 8 is almost here, and we want to thank everyone who has took part in both PTS phases. With a number of changes planned for talents in PvP and completely new way to engage with the Dark Zones, we wanted to give you as many opportunities as possible to test these ideas and share your feedback. Thank you to everyone who took part in both PTS phases and shared their thoughts with us. We know not all of the feedback was easy to hear, but it helped us make changes before launch. Here you can find some of the changes planned for the Into the Dark season with more context on what we adjusted and why. So escalation and prototype gear, this is what we were just talking about in stream. So although escalation and prototype gear are not new features for the season, we used the PTS to experiment with solutions to some of the most pressing feedback we heard from the community. Token economy and its distribution between group members and the leader, for example, is something we wanted to revisit, and the PTS helped us to explore other options. We made token rewards for the leader more generous and less punishing to fail a tier and climb back again, all based on feedback. We then thought it would be best to update the prototype vendor and increase the prices for the caches to adjust to this economy. After reviewing the feedback from the PTS, it was clear that changing both at the same time was perceived as taken away from the player. Because of that, we're reverting the change. And escalation acquisition vendor prices will remain the same as they are in the live game, 5 and 10 tokens. At the same time, we are keeping the changes approved to have a positive impact on the experience, including the updated token distribution and the return of crate drops. We also heard feedback about augment reroll costs. We understand that spending prototype cores while trying to get the right augment can feel frustrating, especially when the cost keeps increasing while the chance to get what you want does not change. For this update, we are changing the cap to 6 prototype cores. Large changes to the reroll system itself are not planned right now, but this should make rerolling easier. Finally, we are also looking at the mutator pool for escalation. Our goal is to rotate mutators over time to keep the experience fresh, but we saw your concerns around some of the upcoming options. For launch, we are adding 1 new mutator to the pool and will continue refining the formula before adding new ones in the future. So, yeah. I do have a little bit to say. I honestly believe, from my perspective, obviously this is my perspective, how I liked escalation from day one, because I loved it from day one. I thought day one was great. The only thing I think they ever needed to do from day one, I'd like to see the vendor added, that was cool. Maybe that little increase in drop rate of the protocols. But this augment thing, that was in my feedback before it was even released. I'm glad that's happening. I think when I first tested escalation, it was 100 cap. Then when the PTS came out for it, it was a 50 cap. And then it launched for 25 cap. That was so punishing with the RNG. Honestly, if they just changed that, for me, in my perspective, it was perfect. If they, from day one, just said, right, let's just make 6 cap, and then brought in the vendor with a little drop rate increase on the proto, it would have been perfect. Like, that there is huge. With everything else they've done, I feel that's why maybe they've kind of turned it onto easy mode. But I get it. I get why they're doing it. Again, this is my perspective. I do see the other side of the fence. And they've got to... Everybody wants a piece of prototype. Everybody wants to enjoy it. It was initially for the veterans, as they say, the 1%, whatever. Whereas everybody wants a piece of it, so they're adjusting it so everybody can enjoy it, which I think is the right thing to do. Even though I'm in the poll is really loving how it was. That's huge. That is really huge, because now it's not like I've put thousands of cores just to try and get Echo. Imagine then having another idea, it didn't work, you want to change it, and then trying to revert a build. That's really good. That's good. That was needed from day one. That's what the only thing from day one I really wanted was that. It's really good. But we're going to continue though. So changes made for Year 8 Season 2 into the Dark release. Escalation requisition vendor prices will be kept to existing prices in the live game. Tier 0 awards, now 1 token per player. So the mutators, Anchor has been removed. That's the one where they're tanky and they shoot fire bullets. Variety Pack has been added, starting at Tier 5. Hotfoot has changed to start applying from Tier 7. Unyielding has changed to cleanse or status effects once at a set armor health threshold instead of granting full immunity. So basically, they will lose the Banshee. Like, we're using Banshee right now, right? So once you do damage to them, they'll lose it, but then you can reapply it right away. That's how that's changing. Harvester has changed to be fully disabled on NPCs by damaging them with a grenade or applying a status effect. So in our current strategy, we don't need to worry about Harvester at all anymore. They'll forever not be a problem. They weren't that much of a problem anyway. When I seen a Harvester, I didn't ever think, oh no, that was like a non-issue. But still, Anchor, I don't think they're going into what Anchor is here. What they said in the stream is initially with Anchor, when you got a kill with your weapon, you got a debuff on the weapon. You had to swap to your secondary to remove the debuff. I think you had to get a kill or an assist with the secondary. They've done some testing on that, and they've changed it now where it's 3 kills. So what Anchor's going to do, once you've got 3 kills with a weapon, you'll get a debuff on your weapon. You'll have to swap to your secondary, either get a kill or an assist, and that will remove the debuff from your main. It's going to force you to swap from your primary and secondary, which I think is going to be fine. I was thinking about that as they were talking about it. I was like, well, you could just run with 2 LMGs if that's what you use, or you could just... I've got an LMG AR setup, which I don't... That's fine. Tier 10 for us is going to get so easy. Just because of... As highlighting Anchor, it's meant to be variety pack as highlighting there. But yeah, with Anchor being removed, that's the worst one. So, yeah. Then the changes to mutators. Prototype gear. Augment reroll cost has been reduced. And now caps are 6, as we've said. That's starting from the 3rd reroll. Augment upgrade costs have been adjusted to be cheaper on initial levels and more expensive on latter ones. The total costs will be kept to the existing price of the live game, with the PTS increased values being reverted based on community feedback. Then they spoke about the Dark Zone. So we've been closely following your feedback around the Dark Zone changes. One of these relates to the Toxic Dark Zone, the PvE variant. Stabilization Agent adds an extra layer of risk to help balance out the extra rewards we added to the Hunter exotic components. To help with that, we are reducing DZ landmark chest cooldowns and making chest loot available to all nearby agents, regardless of whether they're in a group. That's pretty cool. We're also adding Stabilization Agent as a possible drop from landmark bosses. You can just farm landmark bosses as well. That's cool. We also like the reaction players had to the Hunters dropping exotic components in the PvDZ, with the PvP Dark Zones being higher risk. We adjusted the exotic component rewards to even out the extra risk that players take by going there. We are increasing exotic component drop chances from landmark chests in the PvP Dark Zone variants, and adding a chance for exotic components to drop from higher difficulty landmark bosses. That's going to be challenging and heroic. So that's what I was saying just before. Your new Darks exotic component farm, PvP Dark Zone, just go and farm landmarks. You're going to get a ton of exotic components. I think they said it was quite high. I'm going to go over the rates here. So changes made for Year 8 Season 2 into the Dark release. All Dark Zones. Increased exotic components drop chance in landmark chests in PvP Dark Zone variants. PvP will be 40%. PvE will be 25%. Added exotic components drop chance to landmark bosses for challenging and heroic landmarks in PvP Dark Zone variants. So it's PvP only, this one. Challenging is 33, and heroic is 48. Reduced landmark chest cooldowns across all Dark Zones to 20 minutes. That was 30 minutes. Increased Dark Zone key drop rates from landmark bosses and named enemies to 20% across Dark Zones. And then Toxic Dark Zone, PvE Dark Zone only. Chests now drop loot for all players around when open, regardless of group affiliation. Okay, so that might be the PvE only then, not everything. Makes sense. Stabilization Agents now can drop from landmark bosses in addition to landmark chests. Increased Dark Zone key drop rate on Hunter enemies. Canister caches are now a guaranteed drop in every landmark chest. And then finally at the end, PvP talents rebalance and new gear. For PvP talents, this rebalance is only the first step in a longer process of improving the PvP experience. Skills, attributes, and status effects and other PvP areas are also something we want to look at in future updates. I just gotta say, I was watching a live stream, and how Yannick handled the people in chat was brilliant. I was told half of them to fuck off. Like, a lot of people were saying how they were, like, they need to do better with all the PvP changes, and Yannick explained how it's one step at a time. You can't just go 100% there's PvP fixed. They've got to there's a method. If we think back to when they did all the changes for Division 2 PvE, when they finally got more funding and more projects to do, and they started with Project Resolve. Who remembers that? I remember when Project Resolve happened and they got shit for it then. You can't just take something and fix it like that. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. You've got to work up to it. You've got to start, implement, feedback. And he said this in the stream, you know, you do little bits at a time, you get feedback, and you work like that, and eventually it'll get to where it wants to get. If you just throw it all out there with all of the mistakes at every single step, it ain't gonna work, guys. It ain't gonna work. So just bear that in mind. This isn't the only PvP fix they're doing. This is the start. I think this is what this is trying to say there. While the full list will be available alongside the patch notes next week, we'd like to highlight 2 changes made following Phase 2 feedback. The Heartbreaker gear set had its damage output and bonus armor gain reduced by 0.1%, keeping it in line with the rest of the global PvP balance. Meanwhile, the core strength gear set received a 5% overall buff to its talent, while the skill efficiency has been kept at 10% down from 15 in the PTS Phase 2. And again, just remember, this is all the PvP rebalance. None of this affects PvE at all. The impact of the new gear introduced with the Dark Zone looked solid overall. One of the main takeaways was around Caduceus. The PTS version had an incorrect value implemented, 3% instead of 2%, but your feedback showed that the higher value was balanced enough to keep. So Caduceus, 2% of its hits dealt damage will be 3% now. So that's how the buff. Thank you again to everyone who spent time testing and discussing the changes. Some of the updates above came directly from those conversations, and we'll keep following the feedback once the new season is live. So that was today's dev stream. It was with Yannick and Alex Bersey. I think it's great that they did it. Something different. It's normally a community team. And I guess we've still got that stream to come, right, guys? With Leo and Anais and announcing a new season and trailers and all that, which I'm going to guess is going to be Monday. We don't know about that, but we think the next season starts on Tuesday. I was really good at them. And I think they're making some absolute great moves, keeping the community happy, really listening to the feedback. How anyone can moan at them right now, I struggle with. Like, even I'm not happy about all this. You know me? I'm loving Escalation. I didn't want them to make it easier. All this, to me, is bad news. At the end of the day, I can respect where they're coming from. And I can respect that this is a game for many people, not just myself. So bear that in mind when you're seeing all this, and they've got a lot of feedback to go through, and I really do think they're doing it very well. They're communicating it well, and kudos to the team. Looking forward to the new season and the next stream. And Tier 10 Escalations being an absolute cakewalk, guys. We're already walking through them. We're going to be walking through them while blindfolded as of next season. I can't wait. Can't wait. But that's your recap.